the tribunal hall of Cowris. 9 was designed to intimidate. Its vaulted ceiling shimmered with holographic constellations, every star a reminder of the compact's reach. At the center rose a circular dais where disputes were aired before a gallery of alien delegates. Today, humanity's delegation stood at the lowest platform, ringed by towering species that regarded them as curiosities rather than equals. Captain Elias Ver adjusted the stiff collar of his uniform and tried to ignore the stares. He wasn't a diplomat. He was a soldier thrust into a role no one else wanted. Earth's politicians had decided a military presence might show strength, though Elias suspected they simply wanted someone to take the blame if things went wrong. The session had dragged for hours. Accusations, posturing, veiled threats. It was a usual theater, but when the Dominion's envoy stepped forward, the air shifted. The Threx warlord was enormous, his chitin plates glistening under the chamber's lights. His mandibles clicked as he spoke, voice amplified by translators into a guttural snarl. "Humans," he announced, "your species occupies space at our border. You take resources. You claim independence where you have none. The Dominion extends an offer. Kneel, pay tribute, and your offspring will serve as proof of loyalty." Gasps rippled through the gallery. Elias felt heat rise in his chest. Tribute was one thing. Demanding Earth's children was another. Ambassador Lorna, a civilian diplomat, tried to respond with calm diplomacy. "The Terran Union is recognized by the Compact as sovereign. Your demand violates." The warlord moved faster than anyone expected. One massive claw slammed into the ambassador's chest, hurling her across the floor. She struck the stone wall and crumpled. Silence. Elias was already moving. Instinct, not thought. His hand went to his sidearm, drawing the compact plasma pistol from its holster. He stepped between the stunned human delegation and the alien giant. "You just assaulted a representative under protection," Elias said, voice low but carrying across the chamber. "Stand down." The warlord leaned closer, mandibles spreading in what might have been amusement. "Primitive mammal. Do you think your toy weapon frightens me?" Every eye in the hall fixed on Elias. He saw delegates leaning forward, some expectant, others entertained. To them, this was theater. To him, it was survival. "I think you just made a mistake," Elias said. The Threx raised his claw to strike again. Elias fired. The sound cracked like thunder in the chamber. A searing bolt of plasma tore through the warlord's thorax. The massive body convulsed, stumbled, and collapsed on a marble floor, smoke curling from the wound. The hall erupted. Some species shrieked in outrage. Others hissed in shock. A few simply watched with morbid fascination. Elias kept his weapon steady, scanning the crowd. He could feel his heart pounding, but his voice stayed level. "Any other questions about how seriously humans take an attack on one of our own?" Compact guards swarmed the floor, separating delegates, though none dared approach the corpse. From a higher tiers, a Jelvari official barked, "This is an act of war. The human has slain a Dominion envoy inside a compact tribunal." Elias holstered his weapon slowly. "Correction. I defended an unarmed ambassador from a lethal assault." The argument spiraled into chaos. Alien voices layered over one another, some demanding sanctions, others calling for immediate expulsion of the humans. Elias ignored them. He crouched beside Ambassador Lorna, checking for a pulse. She was breathing, shallow but steady. Relief washed over him, though it was fleeting. The human delegation's communicator chimed. Elias tapped it, and a panicked officer's voice filled his ear. "Captain, Dominion channels are broadcasting already. They're calling this a declaration of war." Elias closed his eyes briefly. He'd known at the moment he pulled the trigger. There was no going back. "Understood," he said. "Prepare the Resolute for immediate departure." As he guided the injured ambassador out of the chamber, dozens of alien eyes followed. Some were cold with anger. Others burned with a different look. Curiosity, maybe even respect. Outside the Cowris, 9 sky burned with neon trade signs and shuttle traffic, oblivious of the storm that had just been unleashed. Elias moved quickly, his boots striking the platform walkway as his crew closed around him. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Marakeen, fell into step beside him. "You just killed a Threx warlord," she said, voice taut with disbelief. "He left me no choice." "You realize what this means?" Elias didn't slow. "Yeah, it means we've been marked for extermination." They reached the docking spire where the Resolute waited, a lean warship compared to leviathans of other species. As the airlock sealed behind them, Elias gathered the bridge crew. Their faces reflected the same mixture he felt: shock, fear, and grim resolve. "Listen carefully," he said. "The Dominion will use this as an excuse to launch a war against Earth. Maybe the Compact will intervene, but don't count on it. They don't see us as worth saving. That leaves us." One officer spoke up, hesitant. "Captain, do we apologize?" "Claim it was self-defense." Elias shook his head. "It was self-defense. That won't matter. The Threx don't care about justice. They care about dominance. If we beg, they'll smell weakness. If we stand firm, they'll come for us anyway. The only difference is whether we die crawling or standing." The words hung heavy in the room. Then Mara broke the silence. "Then we stand." A murmur of agreement followed, low but resolute. Elias allowed himself a brief nod. He'd always known humans wouldn't be accepted in this galaxy until they were tested. Now the test had come, whether anyone wanted it or not. He turned to the helm. "Set course for Sol. We need to warn Earth what's coming." The stars shifted as the ship prepared for jump. Elias stood at the viewport, watching Cowris, 9 shrink behind them. Somewhere out there, Dominion fleets were already mobilizing. The galaxy thought humanity had just signed its death warrant. Maybe they had. But as Elias stared into the black void, he felt something else stirring beneath the dread. A fierce, unyielding certainty. "They think we're prey," he muttered. "Let's show them what happens when prey fights back." The Resolute vanished into jump space, carried with it the spark of a war that would change the galaxy forever. The Resolute tore through jump space, stars bending into streaks across the forward canopy. Captain Elias Vare stood at the center of the bridge, one hand resting on the railing, as reports poured in. "Compact media networks are running the footage already," Mara said. Her voice clipped. "Some call it assassination. Others say it was self-defense. Doesn't matter how they spin it," Elias replied. "The Dominion decide the narrative, and they've already written us as criminals." He kept his eyes on the shifting stars. News traveled faster than fleets, and by now every major system would know that a human officer had killed a Threx warlord in open tribunal. The comms officer raised his head. "Sir, incoming wideband. Dominion channel. It's him." The screen filled with the towering figure of Overlord Catheres Vorn. Unlike the fallen envoy, this Threx radiated authority. His carapace was lacquered black, ridges scarred from countless battles. Eyes like molten copper glared into the feed. "Humans," he hissed, translator warping the words into something jagged. "You dare strike down a servant of the Dominion. For this, your species is forfeit. Deliver your offspring as tribute within 1 rotation, or we will scour your worlds until none remain." He leaned closer, mandibles spreading in a grin devoid of humor. "Your choice is servitude or extinction." The feed cut. No one spoke for a long moment. The silence on the bridge was thicker than any vacuum outside. Finally, Mara exhaled. "He didn't even threaten our fleets or colonies. He went straight to children. He's not negotiating. He's declaring dominance." "Exactly," Elias said. "That's how they think. Submission or annihilation." Another officer muttered, "We can't fight them. Their fleets dwarf ours 10 to 1. Elias turned, his voice sharp. "Then we find ways around their fleets. Humanity has survived worse odds than this. We're not built to win clean wars. We're built to endure." The ship dropped from jump above Luna Station. The gray curve of Earth's moon filled the viewport, its surface scarred by centuries of mining and dotted with orbital docks. Elias felt a pang of homecoming and dread at once. The war was no longer hypothetical. It was coming here, within the hour. He stood in Earth Command's council chamber, a stark room lined with projection screens. Generals, ministers, and advisors filled the seats, their faces strained. The Dominion's ultimatum had reached them already. A minister slammed a hand on the table. We must issue an apology, immediately. Claim it was an accident, beg for mercy. Anything to prevent war. Mercy? Elias's voice cut through the room. Did you listen to his demand? He doesn't want words. He wants our children. You hand them over, and Earth becomes a slave colony. Maybe they don't kill us outright, but they'll break us all the same. Another counselor countered. You think we can fight? We don't have the numbers or the technology. Their fleets can burn half our colonies before we can even mobilize. Elias leaned forward, jaw tight. We don't have to match them ship for ship. We make every system a battlefield they can't control. We bleed them, force them to pay in blood for every inch. The Threx only respect strength, so we show them we won't bow, no matter what it costs. The chamber erupted with argument. Some shouted for surrender, others for defiance. Elias let it wash over him. He could see the fault line running straight through humanity. Fear on one side, defiance on the other. The commander of the defense fleet finally spoke, voice low but steady. If we surrender, we vanish. If we resist, we might survive. Slim chance, but better than none. Elias met his eyes and nodded. Then we resist. The decision wasn't unanimous, but it was enough. Orders went out within hours. Mobilization of fleets, activation of planetary defense grids, conscription measures across the colonies. Humanity, for the first time in centuries, moved as one. But the Dominion moved faster. 2 days later, reports came of a convoy ambushed on the edge of the Kepler corridor. 3 freighters carrying medical supplies, escorted by 2 corvettes. All destroyed, survivors scattered in escape pods. Elias slammed his fist on the briefing table. They're probing, testing our response. Mara looked at the tactical map. Closest ship capable of intercept is us. If we move now, we can catch the raiders before they slip away. Then we move. The Resolute dropped into the corridor, sensors sweeping the darkness. The wreckage of the convoy drifted silently, twisted metal glittering against starlight. Emergency beacons pulsed weakly. Beyond, faint signatures of Threx ships moving to jump. Target lock established, the weapons officer said. Elias shook his head. Not yet. They expect us to come charging in. Let them think we're too late. He ordered the ship into the debris field, weaving through broken hulls. The crew held their breath as the Resolute powered down most systems, hiding among the corpses of human ships. The Threx patrol glided closer, their vessels shaped like serrated blades. They swept the area lazily, confident no prey remained. Now, Elias whispered. Engines roared to life. Torpedoes streaked out, striking the lead raider before it could raise shields. The explosion lit the void. The remaining Threx ships turned, weapons charging. Elias barked orders. Deploy drones. Evasive pattern delta. Small decoy craft scattered from the Resolute, broadcasting false signatures. Enemy fire split across targets, wasting volleys. The Resolute darted between them, unleashing concentrated fire into exposed flanks. One Threx vessel reeled, venting atmosphere. Another tried to ram, but Elias twisted the ship hard, dragging into a collision with its crippled companion. Both went up in a burst of flame and shrapnel. The last raider fled, engines flaring. Mara glanced at Elias. Do we chase? No. Let them run. Make sure they broadcast what happened here. The battlefield fell silent. Survivors in the convoy were retrieved, shaken but alive. Elias stood at the viewport, watching rescue shuttles dock. He knew what this skirmish meant. Humanity had drawn blood, and in doing so, ensured the Dominion's wrath would burn hotter. Send the footage to Earth Command, he ordered. Let the galaxy see it too. The Dominion did not wait. Within a week, their fleet crossed into human space. 30 warships, each larger than the Resolute, advanced like a tide of black steel. Worlds along the frontier burned. Colonies were glassed from orbit, their atmospheres ignited in firestorms that left nothing but ash. Elias Vare watched the reports with clenched fists. Civilian transport scattered in panic, but few escaped. Dominion weapons tore them apart with the same ease they destroyed warships. The message was deliberate. This was not conquest. This was punishment. Earth Command's council grew desperate. Emergency sessions ran for hours, arguments looping back on themselves. Some demanded negotiation, others urged retreat. Elias broke the cycle with cold clarity. They don't want terms. They want obedience, and they'll take it by breaking us. He pointed to the burning frontier on the screen. We can't meet them head-on. We strike where it hurts. Not their fleets, their pride. Mara leaned forward. You're suggesting we hunt them? Exactly, Elias said. Hit and vanish. Force them to chase shadows. If they see we're not afraid to bleed them, it shifts the balance. The admiral of the defense fleet frowned. You're asking us to wage war like criminals. Ambush, sabotage, unconventional tactics. Elias met his eyes. I'm asking us to survive. The decision was reluctant but unanimous. Humanity could not win clean battles, so they would fight dirty. The Resolute's first mission came quickly. Intelligence marked a Dominion fuel depot hidden in an asteroid cluster near Proxima, guarded by destroyers. It supplied half the invasion fleet. Elias studied the tactical map, the plan forming in his mind. We don't go through them. We make the depot itself a weapon. How? Mara asked. Chain reaction. Their fuel is unstable when compressed. Hit the storage tanks, and the entire site goes up. One spark does more damage than any fleet we could throw at them. The crew exchanged grim looks. It was madness, but also possible. The Resolute slipped into the cluster, engines on silent burn. The asteroids loomed, jagged shadows drifting through the void. Dominion patrols prowled the perimeter, unaware of the human ship hiding among the rocks. Elias gave the order. Drones launched. Carrying charges magnetized the stick against the depot's outer hull. Each drone moved like a shadow, gliding between asteroids until they latched onto the storage silos. Detonators armed, the weapons officer whispered. Hold, Elias said, watching the patrol sweep closer. A Dominion destroyer passed, so near the Resolute that its running lights brushed across the hull. The crew held their breath. The destroyer moved on. Elias's hand hovered above the console. Now! The void erupted. The first silo blew apart, releasing compressed plasma in a blinding flash. The chain reaction raced across the depot, silos igniting one after another until the entire installation vanished in a storm of fire. The shockwave flung nearby destroyers into tumbling wreckage. The Resolute dove back into the asteroid belt as Dominion reinforcements scrambled. From afar, Elias watched the flames consume their supply line. Mara broke the silence. That wasn't just a raid. That was a message. Good, Elias said. Let them hear it loud. The galaxy heard. Footage of the destroyed depot spread faster than the Dominion's sensors could contain it. To most species, it was unthinkable. The Dominion had ruled unchallenged for centuries. No one defied them and lived. Yet humans had struck, and not only survived, but humiliated them. Across compact space, whispers grew. If humans could wound the predators, maybe the predators weren't gods after all. But the price came swift. Dominion retaliation was merciless. A farming colony on the rim, population 30,000, was obliterated in a single strike. Survivors sent fragmented distress signals before being silenced forever. On the bridge of the Resolute, Mara slammed her fist against console. We can't protect them all. For every depot we burn, they'll torch a world. How do we win that? Elias's voice was steady, though his chest felt like iron. We don't win by saving everyone. We win by making them fear us. Every time they kill civilians, we make them pay more than it cost us. Enough blood, and they'll rethink whether this war is worth the price. The words tasted bitter, but there was no other path. Humanity had to become a species that predators feared. Weeks passed in fire. The Resolute struck convoys, sabotaged outposts, ambushed patrols. Each time, Dominion ships burned. Each time, more human colonies were wiped away in vengeance. And yet, something was changing. Reports came of minor species, refusing Dominion tribute. Small rebellions sparked in corners of the compact, inspired not by victory but by defiance. One evening, Mara joined Elias at the viewport. They watched the stars drift by, the void silent between missions. "You've turned us into monsters," she said quietly. Elias didn't look away from the stars. "No, they made us monsters the moment they came for our children. I'm just showing them what kind of monsters we can be." Her voice dropped. "And if we can't turn back? If we become the very thing they claim we are?" He finally met her gaze. "Then at least we choose it instead of bowing. Better a monster on our feet than prey on our knees." Mara didn't answer. She didn't need to. The silence between them carried all the weight of their choices. The Dominion, Overlord addressed his council in fury. Holograms of burning ships and destroyed depots surrounded him. His voice thundered through the chamber. "Humans are vermin. They strike from shadows. They poison our supply lines. They dare humiliate us before the compact. Crush them. Burn their worlds until their species is ash." Yet, in the shadows of that very council, voices of doubt rose. If humanity could bleed the Dominion this badly in weeks, what would years of resistance look like? The galaxy was changing. What began as whispers after Proxima became open murmurs. Dominion tribute fleets reported missing. Garrisons faced uprisings. Minor species who had cowered for centuries now dared to question their masters. And at the heart of it all was humanity. On the Resolute, Elias watched intercepted broadcasts spread like wildfire across compact channels. Images of human warships striking from shadows, depots engulfed in flames, Dominion wreckage drifting in the void. It was propaganda without effort. The galaxy wanted to believe the predators could bleed. Humanity had proven they could. Mara leaned over the console, scanning a report. The Keth Syndicate just refused their annual tribute. First time in living memory. Elias raised an eyebrow. "The Keth? They've been Dominion lapdogs since before Earth had spaceflight." "Not anymore. They say if humans can stand, so can they." The word stirred something Elias had buried under steel resolve. Hope, but he knew better than to let it linger. The Dominion wouldn't allow rebellion to spread unchecked. The next mission came with teeth. Intelligence marked the Dominion prison moon in the Eridani system. Thousands of captured rebels were held there, their suffering used as an example to others. Elias outlined a plan in the war room. A holographic projection of the moon spun slowly, dotted with fortress structures and orbital turrets. "We don't attack head-on. We infiltrate, free as many prisoners as possible, and vanish before reinforcements arrive. The Dominion wants fear. We'll give the galaxy courage." His crew exchanged wary glances. It wasn't just dangerous. It was reckless. Mara voiced the thought first. "Even if we get in, what then? We'll have a ship overloaded with refugees, hunted by half the sector." Elias's tone was steady. "Then we show the galaxy the price of resisting isn't death. It's freedom." The silence that followed was heavy, but no one disagreed. The infiltration began under cloak, the Resolute slipping past patrol routes. A shuttle launched, painted with Dominion transponder code stolen weeks earlier. Inside, Elias led a strike team of Marines, armored in matte black plating. Mara sat at his side, rifle across her knees. The shuttle descended toward the prison moon. Gray fortresses jutted from the surface like teeth, their spires glowing faintly in the dim starlight. The landing pad loomed, guarded by hulking Dominion soldiers. The shuttle touched down. For a breathless moment, nothing happened. Then the guards moved to inspect, just as Elias gave the signal. Suppressors hissed. The guards dropped before they could sound an alarm. The team surged forward, breaching the fortress doors. Inside, the stench of confinement choked the air, metal corridors lined with cells, filled with broken rebels from a dozen species. A gaunt alien prisoner raised his head as Elias's team stormed past. His voice cracked in disbelief. "Humans? Not just humans," Elias said, blasting open the cell lock. "All of us, together." Doors burst open across the block. Prisoners stumbled free, some too weak to walk, others burning with sudden fury. The sound spread like fire through dry grass. Freedom. But the Dominion wasn't blind. Alarms howled. Soldiers poured into the corridors, claws clicking against the metal floor. Mara dropped behind cover, firing bursts that tore through their ranks. We got minutes before the whole moon's awake. Elias dragged a wounded prisoner onto his feet. Then we don't waste them. The strike team fought room by room, cutting through the fenders as they drove toward the central hangar. Prisoners swarmed behind them, some picking up dropped weapons, others screaming vengeance as they overwhelmed guards with sheer desperation. The hangar doors loomed ahead, but so did a Dominion warlord, towering, armored in dark plating. He blocked the path, a massive blade in his claws. Elias raised his rifle. The warlord sneered. You think vermin can escape their cage? Mara stepped beside Elias, rifle steady. We don't escape cages. We break them. The fight was brutal. The warlord moved with terrifying speed, his blade slicing through cover. Elias rolled aside, firing shot after shot into joints of armor. Mara's burst struck the warlord's faceplate, cracking it open in a spray of sparks. Prisoners surged forward, dozens of them piling onto the alien giant. His roars turned to screams as they dragged him down, tearing his armor apart with bare hands. The path to the hangar was clear. Move! Elias shouted. The shuttle bay filled with chaos as prisoners flooded inside. Dominion reinforcements closed in, ships descending from orbit. The Resolute burst from the shadow of the prison moon, cannons blazing. Its guns shredded incoming patrol craft, clearing the way. The shuttle launched, carrying Elias, Mara, and hundreds of freed captives. As the ship climbed, Mara stared out the viewport. Fires burned across the prison complex. For the first time in centuries, its cages were empty. They'll never forgive this, she said. Elias's eyes hardened. Good. The galaxy won't forget it either. News of the raid spread faster than Dominion censorship could contain. The images of gaunt prisoners standing free, of Dominion fortresses burning, electrified the compact. The galaxy no longer whispered, it shouted. Minor powers declared open defiance. Tribute fleets went unanswered. In markets and shipyards, for the first time in living memory, being spoke of the predators not with fear, but with anger. In Dominion high command, the Overlord roared in fury, his claws leaving gouges in the stone floor. Enough of this shadow war. I want every world scoured. I want humanity broken before their defiance infects the galaxy further. But his council shifted uneasily. They had seen the uprisings. They had seen the fear spreading not among prey, but among their own soldiers. And in the quiet dark of the Resolute, Elias watched the stars wheel past and understood the truth. The fire was no longer his to control. Humanity had struck the spark. Now the galaxy itself was burning. The Dominion struck back with fury. Entire systems burned in reprisal. Cities that dared raise banners of rebellion were flattened under orbital fire. The predators meant to make an example. Fear, they believed, would choke the spark of freedom before it grew into a blaze. But it was too late. On the Resolute's bridge, Elias studied a projection of the war front. Red markers stretched like wounds across Dominion space, each a rebellion rising, each an occupied world in revolt. The predators were stretched thin, their empire cracking beneath the weight of resistance. Still, the cost was unbearable. Millions dead, entire colonies erased. The Dominion's desperation had made them reckless, and the galaxy bled for it. We can't keep running raids, Mara said quietly, standing beside him. Every strike we make, they slaughter innocents in response. I know. Elias's jaw tightened, which is why we stopped letting them dictate the fight. He pointed to projection. One system, a black void at the center of Dominion power. Here, their primary shipyard. Without it, they can't rebuild fleets fast enough to hold control. We take it. We cripple their ability to wage war. The crew went silent. To strike the Dominion's heart was suicide. But they also knew there was no other way. The plan spread through Allied channels like lightning. Dozens of rebel flotillas answered. Human ships formed the spearhead, but compact craft, fragile, outdated, never built for war, joined willingly. Together they would strike what had once been unthinkable. Elias stood before the assembled captains on a hollow briefing. This is not just about survival. It's about showing the galaxy that the predators can fall. If we win here, the Dominion bleeds in front of everyone. If we fail, he let the silence stretch. There will be no one left to fight. No one turned away. The Dominion shipyard loomed above a gas giant, a sprawling construct of steel and fire. Docks held half-completed warships, their skeletons glowing under welding torches. Defense platforms ringed like teeth. The rebel fleet emerged from warp in a storm of light. "Contact!" shouted the sensor officer. Multiple Dominion battleships inbound. Elias gripped the command chair. All ships forward. The void erupted. Rebel frigates darted between enemy lines, pouring fire into heavy cruisers. Compact freighters retrofitted with cannons unleashed volleys that should never have existed. And at the front, human warships tore through Dominion ranks with cold precision. Mara's voice was calm over the chaos. Shields holding. Enemy formation breaking. The words cut off as a massive Dominion dreadnought dropped from warp, dwarfing the battlefield. Its hull bristled with cannons, its core glowing with the fire of a star. The comms lit with static as a voice thundered across channels. "Insects, you presume to challenge Dominion itself? You'll be ashes." The dreadnought opened fire. Rebel ships vanished in storms of plasma. Entire squadrons blinked out in fire. The fleet wavered, courage faltering under the impossible weight of the Predator Titan. Elias stood, voice ringing across the bridge. "Focus fire on the shipyard. Don't give them time to finish those ships." The Resolute surged ahead, weaving through debris as its cannons unleashed hell into the yard supports. Explosions rippled outward. Half-built warships collapsed in chain reactions, flames racing along the colossal station. But the dreadnought bore down on them, unrelenting. On the lower decks, prisoners freed in earlier raids, now volunteers, manned weapons, shouting defiance as they fired. One, a frail alien Elias barely knew, cried out, "For every cage you built," before the recoil tore through his body. He died smiling. The bridge shook violently. Mara staggered but kept her rifle slung, eyes fixed on the dreadnought. "We can't outgun it. We'll be ripped apart in minutes." Elias's gaze hardened. "Then we don't outgun it." He studied the dreadnought's readings, its core burning hotter than any reactor should. Rage sharpened his thoughts into clarity. They've overcharged the core. That's their weakness. If we breach it... Mara finished for him, voice grim. "It'll take half the fleet with it." He met her eyes. "Then we make sure it takes them, not us." The Resolute dove straight at the dreadnought, shields collapsing under brutal fire. Rebel ships swarmed in behind, sacrificing themselves to clear a path. Compact frigates rammed enemy cruisers, detonating in bursts of light. It wasn't strategy anymore. It was will. "Bring us in close." Elias ordered. The dreadnought's cannons turned, focusing all fire on the lone human vessel daring to charge at heart. The bridge shuddered, sparks raining from consoles. Bulkheads groaned under the strain. "Now!" Elias roared. The Resolute's entire payload fired at once. Torpedoes, cannons, everything. The barrage slammed into the dreadnought's reactor shielding. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the core ruptured. A sun was born in the void. The explosion consumed the dreadnought, tearing through its armor, vaporizing everything nearby. The shockwave shattered the shipyard in a storm of fire. Dominion fleets scattered, broken, fleeing as the inferno devoured them. The Resolute tumbled, battered by the blast, but held together. Alarm screamed. Fire spread across decks. But they were alive. Silence fell on the battlefield. Where the Dominion's greatest ship and shipyard had stood, only debris remained. Rebel ships drifted, scarred and broken, but victorious. Across the comms, cheers erupted. Weary voices, scarred voices, voices of species who had known only fear now screamed freedom into the void. Mara slumped into her chair, eyes wide. We actually did it." Elias stared at the wreckage, his voice low, steady. "No, the galaxy did it. We just lit the fire." In the days that followed, Dominion worlds rose in open revolt. Garrisons mutinied. Allies defected. The predators who had ruled for millennia found themselves hunted, their empire unraveling. And everywhere, the name humanity spread. Not as prey, not as victims, but as a species who showed the galaxy that cages could be broken. Elias stood on the Resolute's observation deck, watching stars wheel past. Mara joined him quietly, arms crossed. "They'll still come," she said. "Even broken, they'll never forgive us." He nodded. "Maybe, but now, they'll bleed for every step." She smiled faintly, tired but unbowed. "What do we do now?" Elias looked out at the stars, voice calm, resolute. "Now, we rebuild. We stand with every world that stood with us. And when the predators crawl back from their holes, we remind them what happens when you hurt a human child, when you cage a free soul, when you think fear is stronger than hope." His hand tightened into a fist. "We remind them why the galaxy will never bow again." The stars ahead shimmered like a path waiting to be walked, and humanity, scarred but unbroken, took the first step into the future they had forged in fire.